"You're just too distracting for our patients." Those words echoed in Nurse Emily Carter's ears as she stood in the staff lounge of St. Mary's Hospital in Dallas, Texas, on May 28, 2025. At 27, Emily was known not just for her exceptional nursing skills, but also for her striking appearance, tall, with flowing auburn hair and a naturally curvy figure that turned heads. But it wasn't her professionalism or dedication that was under scrutiny. It was her looks. The hospital administration had called her in for a meeting that morning. The human resources manager, avoiding eye contact, handed her a termination letter citing inappropriate attire and causing discomfort among patients and staff. Emily was stunned. She wore the same standard-issue medical scrubs as everyone else. Her only so-called offense was her natural physique. Humiliated and heartbroken, Emily packed her belongings and left the hospital where she had poured her heart into caring for others. She had always believed that her work would speak for itself, that her compassion and competence would be enough. But now she was being punished for something entirely beyond her control. That evening, she called her older brother, Captain James Carter, an officer in the United States Army who had recently returned from deployment overseas. She hesitated to tell him, not wanting to burden him with her troubles. But James sensed something was wrong. "Emily, what happened?" he asked gently. Through tears, she recounted the day's events. James listened silently, his jaw tightening with every word. When she finished, there was a long pause. "So they fired you because of how you look," he said, disbelief and anger rising in his voice. "They said I was a distraction," Emily whispered. The next morning, James put on his full dress uniform and drove straight to St. Mary's Hospital. He walked through the front doors with purpose, his medals gleaming, his posture rigid. Staff and patients turned to look, some recognizing him from local news stories about his military service. He approached the front desk calmly but firmly. "I need to speak with the hospital administrator," he said. Within minutes, he was escorted to a conference room where both the human resources manager and the hospital administrator waited, visibly uneasy. "Captain Carter, how can we assist you today?" the administrator began cautiously. James stood firm. "I'm here regarding my sister, Nurse Emily Carter. I understand she was terminated due to her appearance." The human resources manager shifted in his seat. "Captain, we have policies to maintain a professional environment." James raised his voice slightly, not in anger but in authority. "Professionalism. Emily has worked double shifts, sat with grieving families, and saved more lives than she can count. She's been a light in this building, and now you're telling me she's unfit to work here because of her body." The room went still. In the United States Army, we do not judge our people based on how they look. We judge them on their actions, their discipline, and their ability to lead. And I will not sit silently while a medical institution reduces my sister to a distraction. He stepped closer. "I will take this public. I will speak to the media, to legal advocates, to every person who needs to hear this. Because what happened to her, what you allowed to happen, is not just wrong, it is disgraceful." True to his word, James took to social media that same afternoon. He posted a photo of Emily in her nursing scrubs, smiling warmly, along with a heartfelt caption describing what had happened. Within hours, the story exploded online. The headline read, "Nurse fired for being too attractive. Her Army brother's response sparks outrage." The story went viral. Comments poured in from people around the world. Thousands of nurses shared similar stories, times when they had been told to cover up, wear baggier clothes, or tone down their femininity. Advocacy groups for women's rights and workplace equality began re-sharing the post. National news outlets picked up the story. Interviews with Emily and James aired on television, highlighting not only her personal injustice, but the widespread problem of appearance-based discrimination in healthcare. Under public pressure, St. Mary's Hospital issued a formal apology. They promised to revise internal conduct policies and retrain staff. But the damage had been done. The public had chosen a side, and they chose Emily. Amid the wave of attention, Emily received a call from the Houston Wellness Medical Center, a top-rated inclusive facility that had seen her story. They offered her a position immediately, noting her professionalism, compassion, and strength under pressure. On her first day, she was greeted with respect, warmth, and something she hadn't felt in weeks: genuine appreciation. No one looked her up and down, no one whispered behind her back. She was not a distraction, she was exactly where she belonged. As Emily walked the halls of her new hospital, her heart felt lighter. She had been through humiliation and injustice, but she emerged stronger, more confident, and no longer alone. Because of her brother's courage and the power of public support, her story had sparked a national conversation. And now, countless other women could walk into work knowing they were seen not for how they looked, but for who they were. In a world too eager to reduce women to appearances, let us remember, character, compassion, and courage will always outshine prejudice. Never let someone shame you for being who you are. Emily didn't fight for revenge, she stood for respect, and now the world stands with her. Before we end this story, let us know in the comment where are you watching from. If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and drop a karma in the comments below.